Welcome to my channel, Entreaty by Rhonda Hensley. I'm a licensed professional counselor, influencer, life coach, and I talk about struggles and problems that people have along with codependency. And one of the big problems with codependency is codependent people do not have good boundaries. A lot of them don't even know what boundaries are or how to set them, or kind of where the fact that you don't have good boundaries originates from. So I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit today. Boundaries are still misunderstood by people that know about boundaries. A lot of people will say they set boundaries, but what they're really doing is setting an ultimatum. A boundary defines who you are. They're parameters that teach other people how to treat you, is the way I like to put it. And a boundary is what I'm going to do or not do. Ultimatums are, okay, an example of an ultimatum. If you don't stop this behavior, then I'm going to do this. That's an ultimatum. A boundary is, okay, I'm going to use the example of someone that drives recklessly and you ride with them and you finally decide one day you're not anymore. So you could say, I don't like the way you drive. You can drive however you want to, but I'm not riding in the car with you. I'll take my own car. That is a boundary. You can drink and use drugs, but you're not going to in my house. You're not going to live here if you do. And that is telling someone else, but this is my house, and you can go out there and use and drink all you want to, but not in my house, because it is my house. And that's, that is a boundary. And then there's the boundary of with myself. I am not going to eat sugar. And, that decision, and that's a boundary. It's a health boundary for me. It causes inflammation, and so to the best of my ability, I try not to eat sugar. So there are different kind of boundaries. Boundaries can be flexible. But if you set a boundary, the most important thing is that you stick to it. So it's kind of like, don't make threats you don't intend to carry out. Say what you mean and mean what you say, but don't be mean when you say it. So, I struggled with boundaries. And I'm going to use the example of my children. My children would want to do something, and they would come to me and I would say, no, that's a boundary. No, no's the whole sentence. And they would push and push and push and push and wear me down until I would say, okay, like, you're grounded. You can't play your video game, for 3 days. And they would wear me down and I would give in. I'd go 24 hours and then give in. I wouldn't stick to the 3 days. So, part of a boundary is to make a decision that's best for you and stick to it against all pressure and persecutions and persuasions, because people are going to try to push your boundaries. There's also two sides to boundaries. There's setting boundaries and there's accepting other people's boundaries. And I know that's important, and not take it personal. Boundaries aren't about me. If you set a boundary and I don't like it, it's not about me. It's about you, and I should respect that, and that was, I would take it personal. I need to go, I've got an appointment I need to be at and be on the phone, and I get my feelings hurt or think they didn't want to talk to me anymore. That's codependency at its finest. So, also people who struggle with codependency, when they start setting boundaries, they feel like they're being selfish, or they feel guilty for setting a boundary. And I have to ask myself, did I do anything wrong? Well, no. Okay, why do people set boundaries or don't set boundaries? Um, they're people pleasers. If you want to know a little bit about more about people pleaser, I have a video about people pleasing or fear of rejection or abandonment. I also have a video about fear of abandonment. So I'm going to avoid conflict with you because I'm afraid if I say no or I set a boundary, then you're going to leave me. And or I wanted you to like me. And so it was the yes person. And then I got to where I resented it. That's how I know that I said yes when I should have said no. And that's, so how do you overcome that? You do some education about boundaries. There's a very good book called Boundaries. I had a friend that gave me that book, and she told me, you need to learn how to set boundaries. You can take care of and be responsible for everybody else, but you can't for yourself. Pissed me off. Really did, The truth will set you free, but it'll piss you off first. But I know today she was a true friend of mine to have told me that. And I read that book and I began to understand. Because I was raised in a Christian home and I thought you were to turn the other cheek and be long-suffering and all of that. And the book that I read was a Christian book. And by Townsend and somebody, I'm not real sure. I should have looked that up before I started this. But it was a very good book because it talked about the boundaries that Jesus set. And I got a different perspective about what a boundary was. And so that's what I would encourage you to do. There is all kinds of information on the internet about boundaries, about what causes people to not set boundaries, how to set boundaries, and how do you know what boundaries? Well, you have to do a little bit of self-searching. What do I like? What do I don't like? What do I want? What do I don't want? When do I feel uncomfortable that, I'm in a compromised situation, I feel uncomfortable. Those things are boundary issues. And, and so they're hard to understand. But once you learn them, and then when you start setting them, when I started setting boundaries, my friends and my husband didn't like it. My kids didn't like it because, they got what they wanted. And all of a sudden they weren't getting what they wanted from me. Good old Rhonda will do it. Oh, Mom's not budging on this. No, I'll not pay for your speeding ticket. You're very responsible and you're resourceful and you can figure out how to pay your own speeding ticket. I was an enabler. I have a whole video on that too. So, I would encourage you to watch some of those. I like to share my videos in what I call layman's terms. And I could use some clinical explanations. But when I first started personal development, that sort of stuff I could not understand. But I could understand that straight talk, and I could understand when somebody described their behavior of what that looked like. And so that's what I try to do here. If you like what I share, hit like, subscribe to my channel. It keeps this going. When you subscribe, and I have subscribers, share with others. Share this with people who you think might benefit from some of the things that I talk about. And set those boundaries. The very one thing I wanted from other people was respect. And what I got was used. And when I learned how to set boundaries and I could do them in a healthy manner, I got respect. So remember, be you.